When we prepare to divide fractions, we need to start with thinking about whole number division. When you see 6 divided by 2, we need to think of it as how many groups of 2 can I make? So if I draw 6 dots out here, how many groups of 2? I can make 3 groups. Therefore, 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3 groups. It works the same way with fractions. We need to think, if we start with a whole number, 4 divided by a half, I start off and I make my 4 boxes. I want to see how many groups of 1/2 are in those 4 boxes. So I take those 4 boxes and I turn them into halves. I've split each one of these boxes and then I count the pieces. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. Therefore, there are 8 pieces of 1/2 in 4 bars. 4 divided by 1/2 is equal to 8. It gets a little more complicated when we go fraction to fraction. So, we need to think of it in the same way. Let's take the example 1/2 divided by 1/4. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make some equal pieces. So I've got 2 different rectangles here. The first one, I'm going to make one whole box and cut it in half. And I've shaded it in. Okay? I need a box of the same size because I need to be thinking about equal pieces. So I've made the same size box here and I've split it into fourths. If you can see the lines in here, I'm making the same exact size box. And I have to now think, how many groups of this 1/4 can I make in this rectangle? Okay? If I turn it sideways, you can see here, I've got 2 of these boxes. 1, 2, I've just turned them sideways. So 1/2 divided by 1/4 is equal to 2 pieces. Let's try a more complicated one. 3/4 divided by 2/3. I still need to make 2 rectangles with equivalent pieces so that I can count the same amount. So the rectangles are actually going to be the 2 denominators. So I'm going to make a rectangle out of fourths and I'm going to make a rectangle out of thirds. The easy way to think about it is this: I'm going to make a 4x3 rectangle. So here's my first rectangle. I've counted down 4 lines, and then over here I counted across 3 lines. So you can see I've got fourths here and I've got thirds here. Okay, so using your denominators, you're going to make rectangles that are going to give you equal sized pieces. I'm going to shade in 3/4. Boom, boom, boom. Shade them in. Now I'm going to shade in 2/3. Boom, boom. I'm going to count the little pieces that are even by creating full grids, 3x4 grids. And the first thing I want to do is count how many pieces are in my 2/3. Remember, we want to know how many groups of 2/3 I can make out of my 3/4. So down here I've shaded in my 2/3 and I count how many little pieces I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many groups of 8 can I make here in my 3/4 that I shaded? So I start counting them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I get 1 group of these little 8ths, and there's 1 extra 8th left. The reason I'm calling them 8ths is because I want to know how many groups of 8 I can make, because 8 is what I got in my 2/3 here. That's a little confusing, so we're going to do a few more of them. But just think this through. Out of these 2/3, I had 8 little pieces. Out of my 3/4, I had 8 little pieces and 1 extra. Therefore, my answer is 1 group of 8 with 1 extra 8th piece. The next problem we'll try is 2/6 divided by 2/3. So using my denominators, I need to make sixths and I need to make thirds. Now remember, you want to make them equal pieces so that you can start trading them around so that we can be fair about it. So I'm going to make a 6x3 rectangle. I made sixths and I shaded in 2 of my sixths. I made thirds, 3 long thirds, and I shaded in 2 of them. Then I counted how many pieces I have in here because I want to know how many groups of 2/3 I have. So let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces. I come on over here. I don't have 12 pieces. How many pieces do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many groups of 12 are made in the first box? Out of the second box? There are only 6 of them, so you made 6 out of the 12, which reduces to 1/2. So the answer, 2/6 divided by 2/3 is equal to 1/2. Last one we try here, 4/5 divided by 2/3. Remember, you're going to need to make a rectangle with fifths, and next to it a rectangle with thirds, and we're going to make pieces out of a 5x3 rectangle. So the first thing I do is I make my 4/5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I shaded in 4/5 of them. My other rectangle, I've got thirds coming down here long ways, and I shaded in 2/3 of them. I want to count how many pieces I have in this rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many groups of 10 can I make over here? And I count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there are 2 extra of these tenths left. Therefore, I've got 1 group with 2 extra pieces. So 4/5 divided by 2/3 is equal to 1 whole group. Here's my whole group. And these 2 extra pieces. And since I'm making groups of 10, that's where this denominator comes from. There were 10 pieces here. How many groups of 10? How many groups of 10 can be made in the first box? I've got 1 whole group with 2 extra pieces, which reduces to 1 1/5.